Holy shit. Hold on, what is this? Yo, what's good, family?
What up, brother? Just calling you back, man. You good?
Yes, indeed. Okay, that was good news. Okay, do we have people in the house? I'm sorry about the interruption. It looks like I can no longer use StreamYard and we'll be going directly through the YouTube, but yeah, I really appreciate all my fans. And for those who sticking with me, hold on. This might be an important call I gotta take. Jeez Louise. I'm gonna tell you right now, y'all can hear me, right? Everything is clear, everything is good. Are we crystal clear? Please put it in the comments. Hey, I really appreciate y'all for holding on. I didn't mean to do that. Like I said, true businessmen, like the homie Donald right here. Phone call. Some crazy shit could have went down. And so, always pick up every phone call. Don't be listening to the naysayers and the bullshitters because it's very obvious. And it's crazy that I even have to say that because when I was coming up and the whole caller ID first came in, niggas used to run home to see, and people run to see what's going on, the answer machine. And then once the cell phone came through, everybody got extremely arrogant, but there was, obviously I don't, and everybody wants to do what everybody else is doing, monkey see, monkey do, and people text message, and I'm not going to respond here, I'm not going to respond there, and then what happened after that? Mental health happened because that is what's going to happen within the consequence of being an asshole to other people. You know, you get hit with your own wave of being neglected and being abandoned and and being excommunicated from the masses, and that's exactly what happened. And now you got people running around here everywhere trying to act like they're trying to fix these situations from all the dumbass social decisions that you made over the past 10 years, I mean past 20 years. And that's real interesting. It's I don't believe anybody's mother raised them with the level of social defiance that was expressed through the past 10, 20 years. I don't believe so. I don't believe it. The TV and the media that we were raised with did not enforce that type of mentality. So I really don't know where it came from, but I guess it came from the movies because I was already done. By the time a lot of the Laffy Taffy, like I said, you all know me, as soon as all of that bullshit started coming through the realm, I shut it all down because it was backwardness. And that level of backwardness would not allow you to survive or be self sufficient. And my mom always raised me to be self sufficient. And that's always in the game that I've, presented because self sufficiency demands respect, self sufficiency demands cooperation. I didn't know other people were operating in the fashions in which they were operating in. And because of that, we have these disgusting results that we have nowadays. Everybody's still out here trying to celebrate handicapped people and for doing things that a regular human can do, and the thinking structure is extremely ass backwards. But when we go into that realm, we have to understand that we come from a lineage of those who were conquered. you know uh we come from a bloodline or a race or a culture of people that were conquered by Europeans. So when you listen to, people of your own descent and ethnicity, you're listening to the opinions of a loser. Okay. And that is just, the way it is. And I figured that. And I'm going to tell you what really put me over that marker point right there. I remember when my baby mom was pregnant with her first child, and we was at a job, and we worked at the same location. And old schooler was like, "Man, you gonna be in the hospital room when the baby gets delivered." And he was like, I was like, "Yeah," He was like, "Oh man, I couldn't do no shit like that. I couldn't do no shit like that, man. It's all spread out, it's all wide open, and I don't even know if it's gonna be able to, heal itself or go back to its original condition." I just looked at this old ass nigga like, you fucking retard, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the delivery of a child or the delivery of, the baby or whatever is done in many mammalian realms, giraffes, elephants, tigers, your domesticated dog and cat, they all give birth. There's not a fucking problem. This is a part of existence. And that's why I just said, you know what, niggas are fucking stupid, bro. I'm not listening to no fucking nigga, man. I just your level of you don't build shit. You ain't create shit out here. You're not a reliable. You know, you're not reliable. So I've seen too many, indigenous people just intentionally not know the answer to a situation, but then try to answer the question to try to save some type of face, to try to save some, to try and keep up a position of I'm an authority or I need you to respect me. So I need to answer this question, whether I'm giving you the right answer or not. I'm going to basically bullshit you, and I just found that shit so fucking disrespectful, and I said, you know what? You're not nobody to listen to, so I just don't do it. And I know that may be an oxymoron because I'm black, and a lot of people listen to me, but once again, but I've proven my research, I've proven my capacity of thought. I've proven those things. As a matter of fact, if you have my Facebook, go to the Facebook and look at the conversations I've been having with the Chat GPT lately. And I had to ask the Chat GPT, I said, the things that I've discussed with you and the subjects that we went over and blah blah blah, would you consider my intellect to be superior to Masonic lodges? And it said clearly, yeah, your mentality and the way you look at things is superior to Masonic lodges. And I also asked it, where would you age my psyche? And it said your psyche is aged at around 3,000 years old, which is basically back in the they called it the Axian age and the Iron Age. And I said, oh my God, this is real interesting here, and basically because I don't compartmentalize things and I cross reference a lot of different subjects, then I'm right within my cross referencing. You dig what I'm saying? So yeah, I've proven it, and I definitely wanted to do that so my fans could feel a lot more comfortable with who they're listening to. But then at the same time, when we look at the numbers on the YouTube and we look at everything else, you got a lot of individuals up in here who have no accreditations and have not produced anything, and they get millions and gazillions of views. But then, we're dealing with frontier psychology. We're dealing with traumatized children who don't know how to properly identify things, and they're leaning or looking for some source to mimic and for their survival. And this is the mimicking, and they're doing that because they have disrespected and they are unloyal towards what they're disloyal towards what they were taught by their parents, and their parents obviously didn't give them enough information to survive in the world on their own, and that's why they stopped listening or stopped utilizing the etiquettes and the critiques that was installed to you by your parents in the world. And then you want to go listen to fucking strangers and go listen to the fucking Kanye West so you can make proper decisions on your progression. And I mean, it's all ass backwards. But yeah, let's get down to it. The shutdown is it's affecting us. And as I was on this phone call right now, if you have any situations with your bills or anything of that nature, in which we all do, go ahead and mention the shutdown situation, and they will consider that and put that in as a part of a little leeway for you to have some room to be able to pay your bills and catch up. We're all going through it. I'm going through it. I'm working a job right now, and I'm losing hours, and that's a whole nother thing. I'm sorry, I don't know how to put up a fake mask for people. I just don't know how. I don't understand that shit. Like, because when you do that shit, man, and you put up a fake mask, you're actually putting the target on your forehead. You're putting the target on your back, because sooner or later, somebody is going to see that fake mask and they're going to want to make a spectacle out of you, which in essence will give them, some type of authoritative respect from others by making you the effigy, or making you, or hanging you high at the gallows for your whole element of being false and feeding falsehood to the world and feeding falsehood to the community or whatever you're standing in front of. So I just don't understand the whole element of a mask, bro. I don't. The God 720 is not a name of a mask. You understand? I put the God 720 on the same level of intellectual capacity as the name Keenan Booker, which, but of course, when it comes to the extreme information that I put out, I'm going to put that underneath um, my name. You know what I'm saying? What's my take on Machiavellianism? That's a good question. Yeah, y'all fill up the questions. It's beautiful right now. We're gonna go back to the days of doing it directly through YouTube because I love this stability right here, and I don't like how the stream yard's been treating my streams. Obviously, I used to be able to stream to 3, 4 different channels at one time, but we're gonna go back to the days. You understand? So what's my take on Machiavellianism? I've never really studied Machiavellianism. Um, I've never read his literature. I have come across some of his wise quotes or statements on how to operate with inside socialism for survival, but you know, um he laid down a lot of groundwork and he understands what, unfortunately, we all have to understand to a certain point, especially in African American culture. And that's probably the part of the spiritual metaphysics on why Tupac called himself Machiavelli before he died. Is because, yeah, that would be real hardcore. Is because when we look at what happened with Tupac, what a lot of people don't understand about Tupac is that I went through a similar experience as he did. As a matter of fact, both of us are year of the hog. Okay, we're both year of the pig. Um, when it comes to Chinese astrology, he's 1971, I'm 1983. So what happened was is that he was looking for family. His family obviously got ripped from him when it came to the whole Black Panther picture. He had to live in several different new environments and encounter a lot of different forms of culture shock. And he had to adapt with that, and he had the desire to find family. And that's what it was. Whether it was Crips, whether it was Bloods, whether it was Death Row, whether it was the Outlaws, he was searching for family. And um in this world, you know, the same as an adopted child, the only family you really have will be your birth family, your biological family. And if they're not there, you're on your own. A lot of people can only people can only produce to the extent of what they're capable of. So they're not going to be able to fulfill a line that is invisible. Okay. And that's all there is to that. So he was definitely in that search. And once he found Catholicism, which is very clear, um, he definitely understood philosophy. Whoever was teaching him, he definitely found philosophy symbolism, and that's what we see on the Machiavelli cover, and that's what we see with the adaptation of the name Machiavelli. That's just how things rolled out. Unfortunately, Machiavellianism and that is just the rule. Being too connected and being too involved in other people's spider webs, you don't know what position you may be utilized as on the chessboard, on somebody else's chessboard. Okay. When you get into somebody's life, you're on their chessboard, and they might be using you as a rook, you might be a pawn, you might be a bishop, you might be the queen, and that's just the rules to the game. Unfortunately, family falls off. A lot of kids are abused, and we don't know what's going on in the separate households. So there's a lot of frontier psychology that occurs with the development of people's, minds and their support. So, and I do thank you all for being very solid with me and doing the best you can with whatever you may have to assist within that picture. But best believe that all of this is financed out of my own pocket, the movie, um, the never ending story. when the beautiful woman over here talking about the nothing is coming, my nigga, you best be aware. You dig what I'm saying? Um, we got some important questions here, and y'all engage. Keep on engaging. I'm gonna get to all the questions, so let's go ahead and get to some of these questions. Um, are we cool, man? I mean, god damn. Are we cool? Is everything cool here? Okay, shit. They always fucking with me, man. Like non-stop, bro. Like, man, this has been my life, bro. Ever since I got out the goddamn coochie, man, it's been fucking tests, all types of fucking bullshit, man. It's motherfuckers trying to kill a nigga, all types of shit, man. What the fuck is going on, man? So yeah, as I was stating, you know, um, I didn't forgot what I was stating now, man. Shit, that was a brain fart like a motherfucker. But yeah, you get the books, kickedoutofheaven.com, the blackmansbible.com. If you don't have them, get them for somebody else to stop being greedy, for real. Just go drop them off at a school somewhere. Go drop them off at a library somewhere. You know what I'm saying? We have to spread the line. Um, yeah, no, I was talking about the brother asked me about the message to the black man. I never really I always look, you know, how can I put this? I don't, I love my NOY niggas and I love my FOY, you know. I've never studied their literature. I've studied Malcolm X. I've listened to all of Malcolm X's lectures. I never listened to Elijah Muhammad's lectures, even though I do still have some at the millenniumdvds.com. Go get your copies. But I never read the message to the black man, bro. I didn't really need to. You have to understand that the majority of religious structures are only here because of bad parenting, because of unloving mothers, you know, and sometimes that unloving is not justifiable, but it is the response or the result of the behavior that occurred. There's a lot of rape, there's a lot of nasty situations that occur with women, and sometimes they're not allowed to love on the levels in which they would want, or the dreams and the fantasies that are in their mind, they're not allowed to express that or try to uh they get condensed in those areas, so that's really what it is at the end of the day. At the end of the day, religions are only here because of bad parenting. you know Bad parenting is here because of self-centered mentalities and a lack of understanding about existence. Self-centered and immature mentalities and a lack of understanding of existence is only here because the Western world that we live in is based upon literature, and the indigenous world in which we come from was not. It's really that simple. Literature and the gaining of experience and exploration obviously was not, you know, the development, industrial wise, um, development of weapons and protection and defense and all of that, and tactics and being analytical and strategical, never was a thing by majority rule of indigenous people. Because if that was a thing, then guess what? They wouldn't have been conquered. And that's really clear. A lot of people, especially the indigenous mind, doesn't want to get to the clarity of the situation and just say what the fuck it is. You want to impose that, you're dancing around with your feathers in your hair, and if that's going to do something. It's just like these cats over here in New Zealand doing the haka during, you're in parliament, nigga, and you're doing the haka, nigga. You were conquered hundreds of years ago. Your haka has no significance here. And because you have done the haka, guess what? We will no longer proceed in court, and things will be at a stagnation, just like what we're doing right now with this whole government issue. At the end of the day, it's based upon Trump's signature, and Trump does not want to allow a lot of the excess perverted expenses that the Democrats want to partake in. The expenses are perverted. The Democrats are perverted. It's very obvious. The Democrats are clearly the leader of the pedophilia backwardness that's going on in this country right now. It's very clear that the Democrats were the and we are not protecting our children. We are not in defense of our children, and it is definitely a time period where we should all be going back to how we operated in early America during the 1800s. And that would definitely be axe and torch. Okay. And the axe and the torch should come to the home and drag the culprit out of the home and hang them high. Do you understand? And yes, maybe we should peel some souvenirs. Get a big toe, put it on your mantle. Why not? Because here lies the fool. And this is will be the consequence if you go out here in the world and you want to affect other people's lives in a negative format. Okay? And that is the bottom line to it. So, you know, I appreciate that about the Jack O' Lantern. The Jack O' Lantern is described in volume 2, I do believe. And we go over a lot of the details of the Hollow Eve. It's really called Sam Hain. It is the October 31st is the New Year Eve for the witchcraft calendar. For those who don't know that witches have a calendar, they do. And it's Sam Hain night. And the reasoning for wearing masks and wearing costumes is because it has been well documented in all civilizations that there is some weakness that occurs on that night. Hold on, real quick. Yo, family, I'm doing the video. I'm gonna hit you right back. I said I'm doing the video real quick. I'm gonna hit you right back. All right. So, there's a weakness that occurs in the atmosphere in between our world and the other world. Okay, not necessarily the underworld, but the other world. And the other world is where all your folklore characters are at. So that's dragons, trolls, leprechauns, and those other beings. Um, and they can cross over into our dimension. And we wear masks and we have high level parties to confuse these entities so that then they go back and they don't know where line or what dimension they are in. And they will go back into their dimension versus being in ours. Now, I have a question here that's very important. Cooley Bully says, I don't believe that stuff, do I? Uh, I don't necessarily believe it, but I've lived it. Brother, you're talking to a black male who has written the most darkest material in the 21st century. Okay. There's nobody on this planet who has gone down the psychological path of the European experience in the medieval times. And I'm here to tell you very clearly that it is real. I don't know if you have access to it because you have to be through certain amount of rights in order to have access to it. It's not no thing like, oh, a leprechaun is gonna hop up behind me or no shit like that. That's not really how it works. operates. But what it is it's all based in your nervous system. So you have to understand that during the medieval times, their nervous system was wired with their environment, which was completely different than what we're encountering today. Their nervous system during that time was conditioned to a lot of feces, a lot of pus, a lot of sickness, a lot of imagery of death, a lot of death experiences, a lot of high level unpredictability. The the age expectancy was 30 years old. By the time a girl was maybe reached 21, 22, she maybe didn't had like 3 4 kids. Two of them died stillbirths or other complications. She probably didn't had 2 3 different baby daddies. One of them died in war, one of them died of the plague, one of them was hung on the gallows for being a pickpocket. you know there was criminals being caught at that time with pouches of babies' hearts and infants. We're talking about human infant hearts and human infant left hands being found in the pouches of criminals, and they thought that this stuff would make them invisible. Infant fat, the fat of dead babies was being used inside candles, and they thought that this would make them invisible. Invisibility at that time had a different definition of what we look at invisibility today. So, um, invisibility is sort of like John Wayne Gacy being a clown, even though he was a serial killer. You didn't see him as a serial killer, or you didn't know he was a serial killer until it was exposed. So, therefore, he was invisible in the light of being a serial killer. So, it's not about what I believe, because I don't believe in anything. You know, I go by the experiences. And I did have a lot of crazy experiences during the course of me writing the 3 volume series. If I was to explain it to you, you'd probably suck your teeth, or you would probably, wouldn't be able to identify because you're not in the right. You haven't gone through the rights. You know, you have to understand, bro. Before I wrote Kicked Out of Heaven, I've already saved lives, literally. I've already delivered my son. I already pimped. I've done a long list of shit. I've left niggas on dirt roads, all of that type of shit. It's all in the Black Man's Bible. I've been plagued by fleas. I've had to sleep on top of situation. I've had to sleep on the bed when there's nothing but feces and human piss on the floor. So I've already been in those environments before, and that's what righted me into. So me explaining those things or trying to make you believe about the other world or the underworld, or how gods and goddesses of mythology systems operate, or how saints operate, it's going to go in one ear and out the other to you, because you haven't been through those rites to see. You see what I'm saying? So you have to understand that what a person sees is based upon their experiences and how their nervous system is wired. So if you don't have that that wiring for invitation, because the medieval is a situation where you have to be invited, and you have to be invited because you've already you know you have to be invited because you've already passed those gates. You understand? And that's the best way I can explain it to you. You know, the immature will laugh at that. The immature doesn't understand. But as I stated, you know, the people of the medieval times were looking at body parts every single day. They were looking at decapitated heads every day. They were looking at ribald whores and prostitutes, walking around topless, which was a normality in many different regions. Um, these things were normal. You know, you have to understand, when plague came, or when famine came, or extreme events came, there was human meat being sold in the market. And you have to understand that. You've never been in a market where you're walking by a table and there's human meat there. Nor have I. I've never seen anything like that with my physical. But you best believe that I've read enough stories that are real stories. And as you can see in the first chapter of Kicked Out of Heaven, I provided pictures of parents selling the body parts of their children on a table. You know, do I have to remind you? Should we look at it again? Yeah, let's do some real Halloween. Okay, people fucking full of shit out here. This is some real Halloween for you. Let's do the reminder right there. See that? See that? That is a real picture from the 1920s of two parents in Russia that are going through the famine, the Great Famine. Okay, in Russia in 1921, of parents selling their children's body parts for meat to consume. This is a reality. This is not a joke. You understand? Okay. So now, when you read a lot of these detailed stories, your nervous system will definitely get rewired to understand that this is a reality, and you will also understand that these are extremes that could possibly occur with you. Okay. So just know that. It's not about what I believe. I only deal with facts. You know, you can hear it waving through my voice right now. You see what I'm saying? So, anyways, let's go to some other questions. What do you think about gangs punking out after all the bravado? Um, Gangs are fraternity marauders. You understand? And say if the electrical grid was to go out, and say there's no EBT or no food, you know, um, you're gonna have to operate within the status of a gang, and you know there will be hierarchy clashes with inside the gang because the human is a fool, and the human operates off of a bunch of emotional bullshit, and because of that, they're more worried about, what their personal rank is, or what their power structure is, or what's encoded in the genetic structure of humans, to always feel as if they need to have some superiority or have the power of life and death over another human. And that's what a manager at your job is, you know. That's what the police officer is, you know. That's what the judge in the court is, you know. That's what the cook at the restaurant is. They all feel as if they have the power of life and death over the human. And that's what makes them feel like a fucking human. Because and when we understand the totality of what we're saying, we see the human is obviously naturally the devil. Okay? There is no devil with no spade on the tail and Poseidon's pitchfork. You don't even know how the imagery then passed through over time. You see, and the anger of Poseidon is not expressed through the devil. You know, um, more of the devil of today is the trickster. He's the partier. You know, well, until that was early. That was 1920 to maybe about 2010. The new imagery of the devil is different. He has colored hair. He's around 200, 300 pounds. You know, he eats Twinkies and shrimp all day, you know, and he drinks the blue liquor, and he just hunches his shoulders at everything. And he aligns with all levels of backwardness, from smelling the dog ass and the cat ass in his home, just like they said the Waldensians did. Do you need to see that picture too? Because it's in volume 2. Okay. Or was it in volume 3? Is it in volume 2 or volume 3? I think it's in volume 2. The Waldensians and the Valdois. Okay. And they smell the cat's ass. Anybody who has a cat or a dog in their fucking home, you're smelling cat and dog ass. There's fecal matter on your food. That's what you're doing. And that's what the alignment with the devil is. That's The sacred kiss is what they call it. The blasphemous kiss. You understand? Yeah. So do we need to go down some Halloween? I mean, I do need to sell the material. Do we need to talk about the medieval right now? The medieval is powerful. You know, is Igor as considered such? Hold on, what do we have here? Uh yeah, being confronted with insanity, the manias and all of that. Yeah, that's all a part of it. That's all a part of what they experienced in the medieval times. That definitely brought a fear towards being aligned with nature and existence. If you were you know battling with nature by weather conditions consistently, then yeah, that's where your mind is going to fall into, is in extreme levels of defense. This is where we get moats and weather control, and this is where we get a lot of things that are very odd to the children of the indigenous, because we tried to sync with nature. But when you thoroughly look at it, you will never be able to sync with nature, because nature is going to devour your ass. You understand? Okay. That's why the Egyptian god Sebek has a crocodile head, and he's considered a pimp when you look at his story. And his story is that he'll snatch your bitch. And you want to know why he'll snatch your bitch? Because your bitch was at the fucking river trying to wash clothes, and that crocodile came out. Yeah, that's right. So to build defense against nature for your own survival is common sense. There is no true alignment with nature. The only nature that humans are truly aligned with would be the movements of the stars, in which we do have a Mercury retrograde coming up. You know, um, yeah, I do appreciate that. That away man said he finally started reading the books, and it's power. Yeah, and that's what I wanted. Why wouldn't you want to be powerful? Hasn't everybody made you an enemy? Hasn't everybody put a target on your forehead? I do believe so. All races, all governments mimic you and look at you as the fool. You are, the entertainment, the space of freedom, the space of dumbass that we can all shit upon. Okay. And that's what everybody has done. So for you to question defense that's given to you for your further survival, uh, only reinforces the possibility that your enemies may be correct, that you're just a fucking retard. And we have seen that with many individuals out here pertaining to the information that I presented. you know um I've given the kicked out of heaven directly to many individuals in the NOI and FOI, and there hasn't been really a response to it, because it is superior to the understanding of existence that Elijah Muhammad had presented, and that disturbs their whole dogma and their control. Obviously, the system is not designed to assist. The system is designed for control and boundaries. And like I had to explain to a brother the other night, who was NOI raised and trained and been involved for over 20 something plus years. You see, when we look at the situation of slavery, you have the house nigga, you have the field nigga, and then you have the swamp nigga. Now, shouts out to Master P for winning his little thing with no limit in cash monies, because I love that song Swamp Nigga that he put out. Swamp Nigga, that was my shit. And that's exactly what it is. The swamp nigga got away. How retarded does the field nigga have to be to stay on the field with no true boundaries? It was only fear was the boundary. You remained on the field. Okay. So what we have to understand is that America was developed with the African American culture having a revolt mentality. Of course, that would be natural. Um, we don't want to necessarily be aligned with a system that abused us. This is nature. Okay. So there's going to be a defiance and a revolutionary style mentality that's going to be embedded inside these people for a very long time. And the best thing for us to do is to develop a false culture that will attract these naturally defiant individuals. Therefore, we can number them. Okay. These systems were developed during the 1920s, 30s, and up. Okay. And we're going to develop these systems, the NOI, the UNIA, we have the Black Panthers that developed later, and many other minor groups. So we can attract the defiant and the rowdy, the revolutionary Negro into these groups. And then when we attract you into the group, we will feed you a dogma, and we will feed you a creed that is aligned with our group, that is putting you towards a social and a personal perfection. But then at the same time, there is energy of a jihad that will be imposed inside the dogma of the group. And that's what the NOI is. The NOI is just a drafting system to attract revolutionary, rowdy Negroes and to number them. That's it. And they do it through a lot of fancy shit. We put on the suits and we stump around in a circle and all that other shit. But in reality, it's a containment system. We're going to draft you in to contain you. That's it. It's all the NOI is. That's all the FOI is. It's all the Black Panther. There is no progression. They've done nothing. Young nigga, young nigga I was talking to, he said it all in one statement. He said, "Why would I join the NOI? They ain't did nothing but kill niggas, right?" You can't get past the logic. That is logic. You killed nothing but niggas. You ain't killed none of them white boys you've been over there talking about. Not only that, if we're going to get down to the details, they were financed by H.L. Hunt, right? It was a billionaire, you know? The Black Panthers were financed by some white female actress. I forgot her name, you know? And so on and so forth. It's all been a joke, family. Masters of the Sea. Read the literature. And that's by J. Edgar Hoover, who took down everybody from, Marcus Garvey all the way up to the Black Panthers, right? So there it is with that. You dig what I'm saying? Um y'all put some more questions up in here. I don't care if they're questions about Halloween, witchcraft, witches, medieval times, African American politics, or even the fact that we have no rap songs in the top 40 of the Billboard right now. And that has never happened before since rap has entered into the Billboard. And then I think they said in the year 2000 there was the Billboard had over 20 rap songs, in the top 100, and we can't even reach the top 40 now. And this is, not understanding your results because you don't understand society. You don't understand how Western civilization is structured. And you don't understand or respect the dynamics in between a female's position and a male's position. And the European already knows all of this math. They conquered this math before they even left Europe. That's why the kicked out of heaven is so fucking important. Is because they conquered a lot of shit. Whether we're talking about financial systems, fiscal systems, whether we're talking about, law, whether we're talking about, social dynamics of male and female, the male and female gender dynamics, they've conquered these subjects before they left Europe. Okay. And that's why it's so fucking important. So, what is the decline? The number one decline is the fact that you got Glorilla and Sexy Red and Lotto up here. Lotto is beautiful. Lotto and Ice Spice, if Ice Spice, she should have came in with a different type of name, and they could survive. But that's based on brown paper bag colorism that has been embedded inside of America, the fancy trade, and so on and so forth. And you know, We brought these females in trying to play masculine roles, and it has declined. It is fucked up, everything, because in the Western civilization, when we go through theology and we understand the origins of Christianity and the dogma, we see that we have Adam and Eve, and the Adam and Eve story is ended by the fall. Men had fell by listening to women, is what the protocol is. Now, when we compare that with Rockefeller and his laws that he has written for his family and how to operate with finances, in which they are still at the top of the game today. And it's already been 400, 500 fucking years. Okay. Maybe even more than that. They say you never let the women know how much money we have. And you never let the women know, where, how to get directly to the money, you know. And they understand these dynamics and they play by these rules. Will the Negro play by those rules? No, because the nigger's a dumbass. And the nigger will fight and argue all goddamn day. Black woman goddess this. And ain't that interesting? All of the black leaders that so-called said the black woman is God. You remember that shit 10 years, 5, 8 years ago? Remember that shit? Where they at now? All those niggas got locked up. While your boy was over here on the PI game peeling the dollar bill off a bitch's ass. You understand me? And that's because, she wanted that. You understand? And I'm going to let them go if they wants to go. You understand? So, hey, that's just what it is, brother. I survived that game right here in front of you on the YouTube. Encyclopedia of the Alchemy of Women is written. My son born, home delivery, proof on the video. But all the niggas that the majority of black people were supporting was talking about this black woman God shit. All them niggas is locked up and destroyed by that same black woman. Ain't that astounding? You puts no foot up a bitch's ass, nigga, so you gets no motherfucking respect. You know? Why you think all these women across the planet respect that white man the way they do? That white man came over there and put that gang bang down on the bitches. Oh yeah, they did it. Oh yeah, yeah, it's well recorded. It's well recorded in history. And they gang banged them until they liked it, until they begged for it. And now the bitches is all on porn, begging for it. You see what I'm saying? To this day, you see how long it lasted? You see? It is brutality that put this shit in place. Okay? It's brutality that got you niggas up in the motherfucking Wendy's drive-through window. You understand? It wasn't fucking dancing with Barney and dancing around the fucking fire. That is not how we got here. You better know that. You know, you don't want to deal with the rule. You go over there to Asian countries, you can go in China right now. Majority of Chinese women are looking for white males. When you see them Chinese men up there talking about their businesses and handling business in the parliament and doing the discussions with Trump, you don't see no woman in place, nigga. The fuck is you talking about? You don't see no woman up there. Okay. And China is right behind European when it comes to industrialism and the chronology of development within inside this globe. Okay. You don't see it with Japan. You don't see the Russian women standing next to Putin, do you? It is only the nigga running around here talking about he's in love with a stripper. And then you wonder why you're at the fucking bottom. You're in love with the witch, and you don't even know what a fucking witch is. Do you think it's just something that is, used for Halloween? No, 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 no. It goes a lot further than that. The true definition of witchcraft, the bottom line, irrefutable, unmovable definition of witchcraft is the female's behaviors, whether that be social, financial, or physical, that interrupt or stop male progression relative to financial gain, social gain, physical gain. That is also an expression of the development of their God given talents. Anything that a woman does that stops a man from developing is witchcraft. Anything. So, divorce court, witchcraft. Okay. Erectile dysfunction, witchcraft. You understand me? A woman yelling at you on the phone or trying to act like she got a tracker on you and all of this fucking brain knot. That's what it's called, knot. Tying the knot is what they used to call it when you get married, right? Tying the knot. The knot is the headache that you get in the mind from dealing with a woman, from her, only choosing specific words out of a sentence during the course of an argument and then expounding upon those words, and it doesn't even relatively have anything to do with the source of the argument. It's those type of skills and tactics and socialism that develops the knot in the mind. Okay. What is the python? The python is what's flipping around in your stomach. Your intestines is the python. Intestines, another name for intestines is also called the chitterling. What are the chitterlings? The chitterlings are the beings in which the devil comes from. Okay. Who's the real name of the devil that was standing at the gate of the Garden of Eden? His name is Gadriel. Okay. And he comes from a race of chitterlings. These chitterlings, who are snake at the bottom, human at the top, and they did not have, Medusa got turned into one. They did not have snakes as hair. They flipped the game on the imagery of what these beings are, and these beings merged into the gods that you see in ancient Greece. Okay, so when we talk about Athena and all of that other stuff, a lot of those beings had half snake bottoms, and they were humans on the top part, and that's also in Libya as well. Okay, just to let you know. So eating chitterlings or eating chitlins is definitely encoding the the devil energy inside of the black race. Okay, the consumption of chitterlings. Look it up. Oh, this shit you could look up. It may take you a little while to find it because it's written in literature from the 1800s, 1700s, and beyond. But you'll be able to find it online. You know, so yeah, that's what the definition of witchcraft is. And some women know this consciously, and there is a possibility that all women know this consciously. And then there's also a possibility that they don't know this consciously, and they just do this out of their own operation and behaviors. For instance, there is some type of notion within inside of a woman where she feels as if getting a man angry is a part of her entertainment, and is also a test to see if she has emotional control over you. If a woman can't get you angry, she automatically by default understands that she has no control over you and no psychological control. And it will also plummet into a status of her not feeling wanted or being protected. You see what I'm saying? But women fail to realize that when you continuously, water crack concrete, and you continuously do this nagging and unnecessary reassurance, you're just dissolving the relationship slowly but surely. You know what I'm saying? Constant reassurance is definitely a direct reflection of a lack of stability and a lack of self-esteem when it comes to your own relationship. And all of those social problems that have nothing to do with financial gain and progression, which is the true security in our day and age, um it rounds up as childish. It rounds up as very immature, and then it rounds up as you are a problem, and that's where the witchcraft comes in. You dig what I'm saying? Anything that the woman that understands that money is more important than her and she gets money with you is the woman that is the angel and doesn't have any attachment with the devil and is listening to the devil. You understand? There's many women out here who may be listening to the devil at the Sabbath, but are also against the female activity in this realm and the female activity that is aligned with destroying men, and they know it, because you have to understand that women congregate amongst their own and men don't know anything about these levels of congregation. And this is where you fail. This is why I had to go through the witchcraft. And once I got knighted on the Matthew Hopkins witch hunter level with the witchcraft, I was directly invited. into the ancient Egyptian layer, which is a multitude of different pimp gods and the origin stories of ancient Egypt, and it also directly um, relates with the Kahun and the whole thing about the Kahun papyri and being an alien and uterus is alien and all of that shit. I had to go through the layers in order to get to that layer, which is the final layer, is the ancient Egyptian layer. Um, yeah, so that's what it is. I'm reading some of these posts over here. Y'all get engaged. We're here for engagement. We're not here to just sit in the audience and write notes. I'm tired of that shit. I'm tired of a lot of people just listening to me and don't give me no accreditation or don't do any citing towards my name, and motherfuckers just out here copying and copying and copying my shit. And then they go out and try to stick their chest out as if they've learned something new. When you're nothing but a mimicker, an imitator, and fucking monkey see, monkey do. You understand? That's just what it is. Uh, yeah, I'm cool. I wasn't raised around the NOI. I wasn't raised around the FOI. I'm completely oblivious to that whole zone. I have parents that taught me etiquette. I didn't need that system. I have common courtesy. You know, um, that's just all there is to it. You know, and not to say that there's anything wrong. Okay. Yeah. So we. Yeah, my. Just talking stupid